A baby was found and brought to an orphanage, where a terrifying discovery was made when they removed his clothes to bathe him. The staff, upon seeing the infant, were struck with horror. The night had taken hold of the city, its shadows stretching like claws through the narrow, poorly lit alleys. A woman, visibly exhausted yet determined, hurried through these darkened streets, cradling a baby whose cries were muffled against her chest. Her heart pounded wildly, echoing the desperation and fear that gripped her with every step. "I need help, please," she implored the passers-by, whose indifference was marked by the way they recoiled at the terror in her eyes. No one seemed willing to interrupt their night to help a stranger, especially one so clearly on the run. As she glanced over her shoulder, she caught sight of her pursuers, men with hard expressions, dressed impeccably in suits that starkly contrasted with the decaying surroundings. "My God, they're getting closer," she murmured to herself, her eyes a mix of fear and resolve. Finding brief refuge behind some trash bins, she tried to soothe the baby with urgent whispers that pierced the oppressive silence. "Please, my love, stay quiet," she pleaded, as the baby's cries softened into sobs, as if understanding the gravity of their situation. The security of their hiding place was short-lived, as the men soon found her. Their expressions were as cold as the night itself. "Hand him over," one demanded, his voice devoid of empathy. The mother's resolve flared like a wildfire in response to their threat. "I'll never do that," she replied with unwavering firmness, holding her child close, using him as a shield of flesh and love against the looming danger. "He is my son, and I will protect him with my life." One of the men, angered by her defiance, stepped forward and struck her, sending the world spinning around her as darkness closed in. Her last thought was a silent prayer, begging that her son might find safety in a world that had shown them nothing but cruelty. Everything went black, prolonging the night of terror. Minutes later, an elderly woman named Donna Estella, known in the neighborhood for her kindness and community spirit, was on her way home after visiting the local church. The unexpected sound of a baby's cry broke the silence of the street, catching her attention. She followed the sound to a dimly lit alley, where she discovered a heartbreaking scene. A young woman lying still, her face peaceful in the eternal rest she had found, with a newborn crying in her arms. Yes, it was the same unfortunate mother who had tried to escape from the men in suits. With the tenderness of someone who understands the fragility of life, Donna Estella gently took the baby into her arms, cradling the mother's body as she began to process the tragedy before her. She knew what she had to do next. Fearing that the police might send the baby to an orphanage, possibly not a very good one, she decided not to reveal that she had found the child next to the woman. Instead, she took him home, caring for him with all the love of a grandmother, offering comfort and allowing a peaceful sleep to calm his cries, at least for a few hours. The next morning, her heart heavy with the unexpected responsibility, she brought the baby to an orphanage she trusted, the same one where she had been raised as a child, hoping that he would receive the care and protection he deserved. At the orphanage, Donna Estella and the baby were greeted with surprise and gratitude. "He needs a name," someone remarked, and it was the elderly woman herself who chose the name Mateo. As she followed the registration procedures, a wave of mixed emotions washed over her. Happiness blended with deep sadness. She felt relieved that Mateo was now safe, but her heart ached at the thought of having to leave him behind. The orphanage workers, noticing her emotional turmoil, kindly offered her the opportunity to take part in the baby's first bath. Overwhelmed with emotion, and having never had children of her own, these moments of maternal connection filled a void in her heart that she hadn't known existed. With hands trembling from a love she had never experienced, she helped undress Mateo, imagining what it would be like to hold her own child. However, no one could have predicted what happened next. As the last pieces of clothing were removed from the baby, everyone in the room froze, their expressions shifting from tender care to sheer disbelief. My God, what is this? The words barely escaped their lips as they all, including Donna Estella, stepped back in shock. On Mateo's tiny body were mysterious symbols, marked in black ink similar to henna, drawn with a precision that defied any logical explanation for a child so young. The orphanage staff, along with Donna Estella, stood in stunned silence, unable to comprehend the enigma that Mateo's skin revealed. The simple act of bathing the baby had turned into an unforgettable moment for everyone present. Who could have done this to such a small child? They questioned, caught between disbelief and curiosity. The markings on the baby's skin seemed ancient, meticulously etched with a specific purpose. More than just tattoos, they appeared to convey a message, though the sight of them on the delicate skin of a newborn was deeply unsettling. Donna Estella, now pale and lost in thought, murmured to herself, "How did I not notice this before?" She spoke more to herself than to the others. "I only laid him down to sleep. I never thought to bathe him or take off his clothes." Speculation began to ripple through the room, each person trying to make sense of the inexplicable. Could the mother have been involved in something sinister? Someone whispered, seeking agreement. However, Donna Estella quickly defended the young mother. "This poor woman didn't seem drugged or crazy," she said, recalling the peaceful expression on the deceased mother's face, still clutching her son in a final act of protection. "There's something more here, something beyond our understanding." The mystery of the symbol spread rapidly through the orphanage, capturing the attention of every employee. One by one, they came to see the baby, whose skin was inscribed with these enigmatic symbols, each trying to decipher the undecipherable. The orphanage was soon engulfed in a mix of fascination and fear of the unknown, uniting everyone in a shared quest for answers. Meanwhile, the baby, oblivious to the commotion around him, lay quietly, waiting for his bath, carrying an enigma that defied all logic. Amid the rumors circulating about Mateo's mysterious markings, one individual stood out, a young security guard named Gabriel, who had a particular interest in ancient cultures and esoteric symbolism, subjects often overlooked by others. Drawn by his curiosity, Gabriel approached during the bath to get a closer look at the baby. When his eyes fell upon the symbols, one in particular, a complex spiral interwoven with a figure resembling an eye, caught his attention. His voice, trembling not from cold but from a chilling recognition, broke the silence. "I've seen this before," he muttered. "My God, what is this?" Echoed everyone, including Donna Estella, who remained by the baby's side, both curious and fearful of what might be revealed. Gabriel quickly pulled out his phone, photographing the symbols and spending the next few minutes searching through obscure forums and databases on ancient mythology, trying to find any information that could explain the meaning of these marks. What he discovered not only alarmed him, but also added a sense of urgency and dread to the mystery surrounding the baby. "You're not going to want to hear this," Gabriel began, his voice heavy with apprehension. "But these drawings are ancient symbols used by the followers of a peculiar god, Tinerabil." He revealed that these symbols were linked to a millennia-old sect dedicated to the worship of Tinerabil, a deity revered for its power to bring both renewal and destruction. The followers believed that Tinerabil would manifest in the world through a human vessel, a baby marked with the sacred symbols from birth. The most terrifying aspect of this prophecy was that the appearance of this ominous god would require a sacrifice. According to the documents Gabriel uncovered, it was inconceivable. The sect performed a ritual each generation, choosing a young woman to bear the child who would carry the symbols. After the birth, the child would be handed over to the sect to complete the final ritual, sealing the fate of the world and ensuring Tinerabil's dominion over the earth. As she connected the dots, Donna Estella deduced that the young mother, who had tragically died, was likely desperately seeking refuge on that fateful night, trying to save her son from the clutches of a dark destiny. The determination in her eyes, the fear interwoven with bravery, it all made sense now. The mother was fully aware of the dangers the sect posed to both her and her son, and her final struggle was a supreme act of love, a last-ditch effort to protect Mateo from such a sinister heritage. This revelation placed an enormous responsibility on Donna Estela and the orphanage. They weren't merely caring for an orphan. They were protecting a life that had unknowingly become the epicenter of a millennia-old battle between good and evil, as believed by the sect's members. But why didn't the men in suits, who had been pursuing the mother, take the child after killing her? As it turned out, after they took her life, a police patrol car happened to pass by with sirens blaring. Not in pursuit of them, but just coincidentally nearby. This unexpected turn of events spooked the men, forcing them to flee, leaving the mother and child in the alley. By the time they returned to retrieve the baby, Donna Estela had already found and rescued him, leaving the men furious and clueless about the child's whereabouts. However, just when it seemed the situation couldn't get worse, the tension at the orphanage escalated dramatically with the unexpected arrival of two well-dressed men in suits. They introduced themselves evasively, mentioning only that they were looking for a baby whose mother was desperate to find him. They described the child as a newborn with blonde hair and claimed that the mother was in the hospital, separated from her baby. They inquired whether any child matching that description had recently been taken in. To anyone uninformed, their story might have seemed credible. But Donna Estela, already suspicious, felt a chill of doubt run down her spine. "We haven't received any baby that matches the description you've given," she replied with a conviction that surprised even herself. The men's eyes betrayed their suspicion and frustration, as they had spent the entire night and morning searching every orphanage in the city for the child. They insisted on checking for themselves, but Gabriel, the security guard, stepped forward, lightly touching one of the men on the arm and firmly warned them to leave. "Gentlemen, you won't be allowed in. You could disturb the children. The lady has already informed you that we don't have the baby, so I ask you to leave." It was then that Gabriel noticed something that sent a chill down his spine. On the wrist of one of the men, partially hidden by his watch and the fine fabric of his suit, was the same symbol that adorned Mateo's skin, the symbol of the god Tinerabil. The men, though annoyed, quickly retreated. After their departure, Gabriel shared his observation with Donna Estela and the orphanage's administration, who unanimously decided to notify the police. The situation seemed like something out of a thriller, an infant marked with mystical symbols, an ancient sect, and enigmatic pursuers. But the seriousness of the case was undeniable. Initially skeptical, the police began an investigation as a precautionary measure. What started as a simple background check quickly escalated into a widespread operation, as detectives uncovered a complex web of lies and manipulations linked to a sect that worshipped the malevolent entity. It was discovered that the sect had deceived several single mothers, promising them a better future for their children, only to abduct them for their dark rituals. The operation culminated in several major arrests. The leaders of the sect and their key followers were apprehended in a police sting that spanned several states. The media extensively covered the takedown of the sect, with reports detailing how the police had tracked down and captured those responsible for the network of manipulation and terror. The orphanage, once a quiet refuge for homeless children, became the center of a shocking and far-reaching investigation that stunned the entire community. An inconceivable plot, yet amidst the chaos, a glimmer of hope emerged. Mateo, blissfully unaware of his role in a cosmic struggle between good and evil, slept peacefully in his crib, now safer than ever thanks to the brave efforts of people like the security guard Gabriel and Donna Estela, as well as the diligent work of the authorities. The danger that had once loomed over the child had been, at least for the moment, eliminated. The orphanage breathed a collective sigh of relief, fully aware that the threat the sect posed to the baby had been neutralized. The capture of the sect members not only marked the end of a dark era, but also served as a powerful reminder of what can be achieved when people unite for a common cause. After the storm of events surrounding Mateo's discovery and the dismantling of the sect, a relative calm settled over the orphanage. Dona Estela, the woman whose heart had opened to embrace the child from the moment she first laid eyes on him, made a decision that would forever change both of their lives. Driven by the unconditional love she felt for the little boy and her desire to protect him from any lingering shadows of his dark past, she officially adopted Mateo. In doing so, she became not just his mother legally, but also in every sense of the word. The adoption marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. Fully aware of the risks that might still linger, Dona Estela decided that starting anew in a different place, far from any remnants or threats that could have survived the sect's downfall, was the safest way to protect Mateo. With the conviction of someone who knew they were making the right choice, she sold her home, bid farewell to her neighbors and friends, and moved to a quiet town in another region of the country, bringing Mateo with her. This new town was exactly what Dona Estela had hoped for: peaceful, welcoming, and above all safe. There, she and Mateo began a new life together. Their home, though modest, was filled with love and joy. Mateo grew up cherished and cared for by Dona Estela, far removed from the dangers of his past, and blossomed into a joyful, curious, and kind-hearted child, a true reflection of the love and dedication he received. As time passed, the markings on Mateo's skin gradually faded, washed away by the years, for they had been made with a washable ink. Dona Estela chose not to reveal the harrowing events that led to Mateo's adoption, not even when he grew older, believing that some truths were too heavy to be shared and that his innocence should be preserved. Instead, she filled his life with stories of adventure, love, and magic, stories that inspired dreams, not fears. Mateo, in turn, never questioned the origins of his bond with her. To him, she was simply his mother, the woman who taught him to ride a bike, who kissed and bandaged his scraped knees, and who was always there to chase away the monsters under his bed. The love between them was a testament to the strength of chosen bonds, as powerful as those of blood. The years passed, and the lives of Mateo and Dona Estela unfolded with the tranquility of those who had found their place in the world. They were a family, united not by the fear of what they had left behind, but by the hope of what was still to come. Dona Estela watched Mateo grow up in safety, free from the influence of the sect, and her heart overflowed with love and gratitude. She had fulfilled her dream of being a mother, and together, they found true happiness. Even when Dona Estela passed away at the age of 89, leaving behind a 29-year-old Mateo who was now responsible for himself, he knew that as long as they were together, even if only in thoughts, nothing could ever break the strong bond they had formed as mother and son. And so, their story, one of love, courage, and hope, continues to inspire. If you enjoyed the story, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible tales. Until next time.